Hey everyone, thanks so much for those that have liked and shared and commented and subscribed. And in this video, I'm going to chat about something that has really taken off on my TikTok. If you haven't subscribed, I'll leave a link below. That is on something that I think most international students and newcomers to Canada need, which is a social norms book, guide, whatever. And I think this needs to be mandatory. Now, I know this sounds like extreme, and some people might question whether or not this is going to be effective. And I totally hear that, but I think it's a step in the right direction. Canada, we're very polite as a nation, and I think that many of us are seeing that there are behaviors that international students and newcomers are exhibiting that test our patience, test our politeness as Canadians. And perhaps this is a way to address this before it gets a bit too out of control. And I don't want Canada to end up like many countries in Europe and around the world where there's just open discrimination, hatred, racism towards newcomers, international students, etc. I think that we have an opportunity here to kind of course correct a little bit and be better. And so I think also Canadians are feeling like a lot of the social norms we have as a country are not being adhered to by newcomers, international students, and this is leading to a lot of issues. And again, because of our polite nature, we're not saying it. So I think a social norms book should be mandatory for immigrants, newcomers, international students to complete. And particularly for international students, I think it's important that there's 3 main chapters, which I'd love to know what your opinions are. The first is, we know that many international students are going to end up in the periphery sector of the job market when they arrive in Canada. So that is Uber Eats, food delivery, Uber Eats on bike, walking, car driving. We know that they're going to be doing like security, condo front desk, whatever. A lot of peripheral jobs. Tim Hortons, fast food services, etc. All of these jobs, what they have in common is some level of direct interaction or engagement with the general public. Even if you're an Uber Eats delivery driver or cyclist, you'll still need to interact with the public on some level. And I think just letting them know about some of the social norms on that will be important. So for that, I think, I know as a country we have English and French as classes for newcomers. I think there's like something called the LINK program, the language instruction for newcomers. But I think for international students in particular, conversational English, conversational French will be absolutely critical. And so that should be mandatory, like a mandatory conversational course. I don't know if this will be effective, right? Like it's one thing to make it mandatory, it's another thing for it to be effective. But understanding like conversational English and French will be absolutely key. I think another chapter on, and that'll help, I think, with just people interacting in day-to-day life, especially when people are in a situation, right? Like you're at your condo front desk and you didn't get your Amazon package, or you didn't get your, key because you locked yourself out, whatever the case is. Just knowing how to navigate those issues, I think, are really important, and it leads to a little bit more social cohesion. The second, I think, and this is something that I think Canadians really struggle with about talking about, and that is personal hygiene. I've noticed it. I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I did post this on social media and a lot of people agreed. But I've noticed, when I go and talk to, whether it's some Uber Eats drivers, some security guys, they're international students, and I hate to say this, okay, but take this for what it's worth. But I feel like there's a lot of personal hygiene norms from where the communities in which they are from that don't translate well to Canada. And whether or not Canadians like to believe this, personal hygiene is a cultural norm here. It's a normative behavior that I think most all of us adhere to. But when we find those that don't adhere to it, we really get turned off, and that can lead to a lot of resentment. And so there's a real possibility here for governments not to openly do this in a very open way, but to do this in a very subtle way, recognizing perhaps some shame involved, people not willing to kind of want to talk about this in an open environment. I get that. So, the way in which the government can do this is by providing international students with vouchers, store credits to pharmacy and drug shops. Even hygienic packages could be provided on a regular basis. Surprisingly, I don't think this would actually cost the government much. I mean, yes, it would be millions of dollars for every international student, but it really is kind of a drop in the bucket compared to some of the other programs that the government runs that are, in my opinion, and many people's opinion, very inefficient. And so this could be something that the government may want to do in a very subtle way. And I say that because this subtle act can really help with social cohesion. The simplest of things of personal hygiene can actually lead to better social cohesion. If we want to believe that or not, it actually very well might. And the third is, just understanding the Highway and Traffic Act of our provinces, especially for international students who are coming here. If you're going to be doing Uber Eats, if you're going to be doing food delivery, understanding the rules of the road is very important because there are norms here, in addition to the act and like what's lawful behavior and what's unlawful. There's just simple courtesy things that we as Canadians sometimes take for granted. Not just stopping at stoplights and stop signs, anticipating pedestrians and how they're going to move. Sometimes pedestrians, myself included, will see the light change and we'll just move with the light. But sometimes we're less aware of a car that's like approaching an intersection and is making a turn. And so just having more awareness of some of the additional behaviors on Canadian roads that are out of politeness and kindness that Canadians do. And I think that that's very important because I think, I see Uber Eats guys on sidewalks with their big e-bikes. I see them blow through red lights, blow through stop signs, while I've seen, women crossing with their babies in strollers and almost get taken out. I mean, these are real considerations that I think more people should be aware of. And I think if there's like just an awareness of that and the implications of that, and just letting people know that there are legal ramifications if you're not kind of abiding by that, I think will really go a long way as well. So those are some thoughts about what I think could be part of a mandatory requirement for international students. And I think beneficial, I think, especially as we move towards more social cohesion. I truly believe that it's not the amount of the number of students that are coming in, because our country is big and we can absorb it. I mean, it does have reverberating effects on housing and infrastructure for transit, etc. Our cities and towns can absorb this influx. It's just there is a social cohesion piece that's missing, and that's leading to a lot of resentment by people towards Uber Eats delivery drivers and other international students. And I would argue if you were to poll international students about the welcoming nature of some of these countries they find themselves in, I'd be curious to know what they really think, because I can imagine that in the absence of these social norms, they're finding themselves kind of at the forefront of discrimination, harassment, even racism, who knows, just like very negative behavior. I can only imagine that. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think these are appropriate? Do you think these are xenophobic or racist? Let me know what you think, and I'd love to know, how we can kind of further this along. I think that maybe the next steps are talking to politicians, talking to members of parliament as well. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. All right, take care, everyone.